Hey everybody, Carol here. I want to talk to you today about the psychic process, and I want to get everybody thinking about it in a little bit different way. And what I want to do is express that in terms of information coming in and information going out. Now, the reason I want to talk about that is because often I run into people who do energy work or consider themselves energy healers. And they say to themselves, well, I'm not really psychic. But the thing is you really are. And if we look at parapsychology, we look at psychic abilities or psi as falling into one of two categories. Now, the first category is what we call the receptive or informational psi. Okay. And that is where information is coming into us. All right. And so we're perceiving, that's what we consider most traditional psychics to be, is to be getting information. Okay. Now, the other side of that is what we call the expressive side. And that is where we are affecting the environment around us. So there is information which is coming in, and then there's information which is going out. And so when we're doing energy work, what we are doing is we're setting an intention. We are using our thoughts and our desires for others really is what we're doing to affect the environment. This involves the psychic process, okay? And so that becomes expressive psi. So I want you to think about that for a minute. Information comes in, information goes out. So psychic information is a constant back and forth of information. Some of us are much more on the receptive side, like myself, where we are informational, okay? And we get that types of information. And then there's others who are just more on that expressive side, where they're affecting the environment. You say, I'm really good, I'm really lucky, I'm a great manifester. I seem to be able to affect energy or to affect other people or the environment or plants or animals. And so that is that expressive side. It's still a psychic function. And if we look into parapsychology and we look into studies with psychokinesis, which is what expressive psi is, right? It's mind over matter. Our mind is affecting the environment. And so we want to look at that and say, how are we affecting the environment? Because another thing that's really important to think about is we're all psychic all the time. The question isn't, are we psychic? The question is how aware are we of our psychic abilities? We're all always perceiving our environment, and we're all always affecting our environment at the psychic level. This is actually a very big part of what first sight theory by Dr. James Carpenter presents as a potential theory for how psychic ability works. So in other words, it's always taking place. Information exchange is never not happening. It's always happening at this, I'm going to use the word quantum level, and forgive me for using that, but at this very intangible, unaware level, at this quantum level, information is all around us. We don't necessarily see it, but it's taking place all the time. And then likewise, we are affecting the environment with our thoughts. That's not new. We are really coming to understand how our thoughts affect the environment at this very physical level. So just start thinking about your psychic abilities as more of information in, information out. And of course, what's going out is from you, right? Information in is what you are perceiving about everything that's around you. And information in can feel very different because there's a wide variety of sources where this information comes from. So in that particular case, it becomes very complicated, right? Because maybe it's coming from departed loved ones. Maybe it's coming from an object or a building. Maybe it's coming from another living person. Perhaps it's even coming from animals, from nature, or even collective consciousness. So there's a wide variety of sources of information that bombard us whenever we're coming from this informational input side, stuff that's coming in. But what's going out is coming strictly from us. What changes is how we're affecting the environment, plants, animals, departed people, the loved ones around us. So in this particular case, we're the single source of affecting, of expressing, but what we express upon is just as vast as the informational side that's coming in. And so I want you to just kind of get to thinking about this information in, information out. And if you're an energy worker and you feel like you're not really a psychic, I think that depends on how you're using the term psychic. If you're utilizing that as a label, I certainly understand that, because we consider a psychic someone who gets that information in type of stuff. But just be aware that as far as parapsychology is concerned, the psychic process itself is always about either in and out. I personally believe that that is both. We're all doing both all the time. Again, the question is as to what degree are you doing it, and where do you fall predominantly? Because you may fall more on the receptive side or the expressive side, but both of those are psychic functionings. They're just working in different ways. For many people who are highly sensitive or highly psychic, they may also find that they're probably easily affected by both. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's also nothing wrong with perhaps being more predominant in one modality than the other. I certainly don't feel that I fall very heavily into the expressive side, but that doesn't mean that I'm not affecting my environment or others around us. We are all always doing that, whether that's consciously or unconsciously. And so suddenly we have this huge responsibility, right, to realize that what we do, what we think, how we are acting is affecting others and is affecting our environment. And we're starting to see that more and more in consciousness studies. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. I hope this has given you a little something to think about the difference between expressive psi and informational psi, and the fact that both of those are psychic abilities. One is constantly coming in and one is constantly going out. The difference is are you aware of what's coming in and what's going out, and to what degree, and can you control it? So thanks for joining me. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.